Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Jedi Knights. I'm your moderator, Christian Buckley, joined from a galaxy far, far away by my Chewy Mike Connors.
Not so far away. Again, Christian. You gotta be.
I know it's the same state, but I'm just used to being so close to you all the time.
I know. We're so far away from each other now.
We are.
You're like basically the technology that we're using is like Leia in episode 5 when she like reaches out to Luke Skywalker on Bespin.
So the Force.
Yeah, but like, whatever, Christian.
Mike, Star Wars has this great thing called like a holograms that also are used.
All right, do you remember like it must have been like maybe 8 years ago, like CNN like used like a hologram on TV. Do you remember that?
No, I remember the Michael Jackson hologram, but I don't remember a CNN one.
Yeah, no, I remember very clearly. It was like one of their election nights, and they had like a hologram of a reporter, and it looked like R2-D2 beaming in like Princess Leia.
Oh my, that's great.
Yeah, but whatever. That's a tangent.
How you doing?
Good, man. Just quarantined. How are you?
Doing all right. Again, still in quarantine. Have you been doing? I want to ask you this. Have you been doing any Star Warsy things outside of our Clone Wars viewings?
Oh,
in
well,
this quarantine?
Funny that you asked me. I was actually reading this earlier today, and it's right here next to me. I'm reading the first volume, and I'm holding it up to the camera right now. And it's just the dust jacket, because I took the book out while I was reading it. But it's the first volume of Star Wars, like the first run of Star Wars.
Oh, nice. The Marvel run?
Yeah, the first Marvel run. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. What about you?
That bridges the gap from 4 to 5, right? That was the first run?
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about.
Nice, very cool. Nothing on the lore side, but I acquired a 1,000 piece puzzle of the Millennium Falcon.
Did you?
Yeah.
Is it like, how far are you into it?
I've found like 3/4 of the border pieces.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
yeah, this takes a while.
Yeah, but it's a cool looking puzzle. I'm probably gonna frame it. It's probably going in the background of the set once I finish it. But
yeah. So how do you keep that from like falling apart?
So when I assemble it, I think I'm just gonna do it on like a poster board or something, and then get some like spray glue finisher once I'm done.
I see. Yeah.
To keep it all together, but it's nice. I've definitely been looking into more like hobbyist things, and it's funny because the hobbyist stuff I've been looking into has been Star Wars related. Like I've browsed the Lego page, I've looked at some model kits, but I owned the puzzle already, so.
Yeah, they have like those like really small models. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like they kind of just like, I don't know, they're like pieces of like small metal, and you can like put them together. They're really cheap. They're a good alternative to the super expensive Lego sets that are out there. Like, have you ever seen the prices on those things?
Yeah,
like, man. The Millennium Falcon is like $800.
I know. There's the one we talked about a couple weeks ago, the Razor Crest in September. It's like $130. I think I'm gonna go in on that.
That's not so bad, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty alright, but.
Do we know how many pieces are in that, or?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it looked sizable because there was like a cargo slider and stuff like that. Like the inside of the ship was there. So,
I'm actually thinking about restarting a new game of Knights of the Old Republic tonight.
Ooh.
So that's another thing that I'm thinking about doing.
Very nice. And listeners, if you are looking to Star Wars outside of the films and to get you through this quarantine, please reach out. Twitter, comments to the YouTube video, anything. Let us know. Give us recommendations because we got time.
Yeah, we really do. Anything is welcome.
Absolutely. But a little bit of a light news week considering we recorded last week's episode later in the week than we normally do just because of scheduling. And we're back on track now. This is Monday, April 6th. The episode will be coming Wednesday, April 8th. So there's a couple news stories that didn't quite make it into our last episode that we can go over. first off, Cassian Andor has hired a production designer.
Interesting.
Mike, I don't know if you watched the HBO series Chernobyl.
I did. By Craig Mazin, right? That's his name?
Yes, he's the writer, and he's also working on the Last of Us show right now for HBO, which is exciting for me. I like that.
He was also Ted Cruz's college roommate.
Really?
Yeah, did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god, so funny. Like back in 2012 when like Ted Cruz ran for president that time, he was like tweeting all about Ted Cruz as a roommate, and apparently he was a pretty bad roommate according to Craig Mazin.
I would bet.
That's just a funny aside. Anyway, you were saying.
So Luke Hull, worked on Chernobyl in production design, and he's being hired to shepherd the production design for Cassian Andor, which is cool. Congrats, Chernobyl was acclaimed. I didn't get to watch it, but like the visual look of that show, just from teasers and advertisements, is like striking.
Have you not seen Chernobyl?
I haven't yet, no. But
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you? Has somebody seen it?
Well, okay. This might sound like a really dumb question, but can you just explain for me what production designers do?
So production designers are they're kind of like an overhead level of just general cohesiveness to a lot of the design aspects of the show, from like conceptual to digital sets, costume design, character design, working heavily with like the DP and stuff like that.
So they deal with more of like the visual aspect of it.
In a sense, yeah. Like,
okay,
that is definitely part of the job description.
Yeah, okay. But so they're basically just like the visual producer, which is their name, I guess.
On a very like basic level, like they're integral to that process.
I see. Okay. So. Well, that sounds pretty cool because, I mean, Chernobyl is much different than Star Wars, obviously, yes. But it did have like this very like lived-in sense to it, and it felt super real. Mm-hmm. And you create a show about like 1980s Soviet Union, and it's gonna like, you expect it to look a certain way and feel a certain way on screen, and it definitely did. Mm-hmm. Just as if you are, making a show about the beginning of the Empire, mm-hmm. that grittiness and like that realistic sort of vibe, I feel, mm-hmm. could be brought by him if he was in charge of Chernobyl, which seems like he did a pretty good job with that. So
yeah, and just similar to what we talked about with Rogue One, as far as like being a really interesting transitional period between like the very very tail end of the prequels and then the beginning of the original series, introducing a slightly earlier stage of that, like maybe more Solo era, I think is interesting, like you were saying, and I'm definitely excited for Cassian. And I want to bring this up as well, the fact that in the midst of all of this, they're still trucking away on pre-production, which I think is interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess like this news kind of it shows that they're farther along in the process than maybe we thought, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would assume that like out of any of the newer Disney Plus shows that they announced, like this is probably the one. It's probably next, right? Like what else have they announced?
Well, there is Obi-Wan, which we're gonna get to in a moment. There's some more news there, but
that was announced far later than the Cassian show was.
Yeah, Cassian was like the second show they announced after Mandalorian.
Right. So I guess like I don't know. I guess they have to work quickly because there's also not really like much Star Wars content outside of the comics and the books right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And they have nothing really planned for movies anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it makes sense that they're doing both at once, and definitely. It seems as though they're moving forward quickly on it.
Yeah, and I think Cassian, I don't want to say like is fortunate with the state of things, but like considering that they still haven't gone into production, and pre-production is a lot of conceptual work and drafting and non-practical aspects of production, I guess, in terms of the day-to-day were making the actual show. It's just like the setup for it.
Mm-hmm.
To my knowledge and my experience with like very, very small scale productions, this stage of it is still workable in like a major comparison to the actual production of something, say like Marvel's Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was mid production. They had to stop shooting because of everything going on.
Right. I mean, I guess like, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is they may still be far away from like actual like production on this and like principal photography and stuff, but like the fact that they've moved quickly on this shows that they're I don't know, they're being hasty with it. To me at least. Who knows how long they'll be stuck in pre-production for.
Yeah, and I do think there is something to say too as well, that the fact that so many productions are being pushed back, the fact that they're getting the groundwork done with this still, and still able to work on it in a close to 100% capacity, maybe by the time we end up getting the stuff we were supposed to be getting, like Falcon, and like the other original Disney Plus series, not just Star Wars, that got pushed back, then Cassian could be in the midst of all of these shows. You know, like when we all finally get back to what we were expecting to get that got pushed back, it's like, oh, also Cassian was able to get into production when this show was able to get back into production. So like maybe the wave of everything I'm saying is like going to be bigger than expected when everything gets back to normal, you know?
Oh, you're saying like there'll just be a lot coming out at once?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible. I mean, I was gonna say a lot of the work that they're doing, I feel like, is obviously limited because of the current state of affairs, right? But with something like Cassian, obviously, like we don't know how far they've gone into it, but like it could, you know, there's still time to work on it, and you know, once this subsides, they could probably have most of it ready to go, and they just like, you know, really ramp it up at that point. Exactly. So I can see where you're coming from with that.
So, Cassian, like you've been saying, I definitely think is probably closer, especially considering the other announced series we have right now is Obi-Wan, and we do have some more information about the production of Obi-Wan currently. Okay. The series has hired a new writer to come aboard after the recent kind of delay, because it never really had a date, but we now know that Joby Harold, who has written for Rick and Morty, is now going to be writing the Obi-Wan series.
That's strange to me. Full disclosure, I don't think I've ever watched Rick and Morty before.
I've seen like 3 episodes. I'm not smart enough to understand Rick and Morty, so I just kind of gave up on it.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't know. I've watched like one or 2 episodes like here and there, like when my roommates are watching it. Like there's something like that, and I don't hate it. Like I never really got into it enough to watch it on my own. I don't really. That's more of a comedy though, isn't it? Like, I guess. Do you know what else this person has written?
I can do a quick IMDb search, but yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you on Rick and Morty. Like, I think it's fine, you know. I liked Community is the first 3 seasons of Community is one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Did this person write Community?
No, similar team
right on
for Rick and Morty and Community.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like Joby Harold also wrote for the recent Guy Ritchie King Arthur film that came out in 2017.
Okay.
Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise like Live Die Repeat thing.
Right. Okay.
And John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I've never seen John Wick. I feel like increasingly like less qualified to be talking on these topics, because last week when you said, who was that actress's name that
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah. So I feel like super unqualified to be talking about this at the moment, but like, I don't know. Do we know who else is writing for Mandalorian?
For Obi-Wan?
Or Obi-Wan?
I can check to see if there's anything announced. I know that after the recent like reshifting,
Mm-hmm.
the original writers had departed, but I don't know what happened to their drafts. It does not look like I can find anything currently about the former team. But I will say, considering we did talk about Craig Mazin a few moments ago, before Chernobyl, the other thing he wrote was The Hangover.
Is it really?
Yeah. So maybe, maybe they can take standard action movie fare. Well, like Edge of Tomorrow was like unique in its premise, but I don't know how much that goes down to the actual script.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, so you know how they had that whole like debacle with, I guess it was all rumored that Disney like axed a bunch of the script for the original Obi-Wan show. Do we know if that's true or not, or do we have a pretty good inkling that it's true? And I'm wondering if this person was like hired in its place, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I pulled up a Variety article talking about the Obi-Wan series and Joby Harold's hiring. So it looks like originally we had Hossein Amini writing the project, and they left in January, and that was going to be the original pitched Obi-Wan show. And then when the rumors came out and the unofficial delay, because the announcement of a reworking, I guess.
Yeah.
By that point, the original writer had left. Okay. So considering they are bringing on a new writer, I think regardless of whether or not someone has explicitly said, yeah, they weren't happy with the scripts, the fact that a new writer is coming in definitely signifies like a shift in vision or maybe ambition. I don't know.
Okay, I guess this is more of like a hypothetical question, but just to keep the conversation like Obi-Wan TV show related. Like what would you like to see from this? Like how would you want like an Obi-Wan's TV show to feel? Like I guess like take that question as you will and like just expound upon it.
So I think clearly what I want to see, I think they touch on a little bit in Rebels. Like looking at his history, dealing with the idea of him in isolation and what he's still able to do, what he's capable of doing. But from the fact that this writer is coming in, and when you look at his live action projects, you see a trend. You see John Wick, you see Edge of Tomorrow, and King Arthur, which were all action movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if the Obi-Wan show is going to skew more to being a like one last ride for Kenobi sort of thing.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan Kenobi goes on a huge adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe like huge. And you know what? I don't watch this show. I have no attachment to this franchise, but
yeah.
So I guess like the sort of thing they're doing right now with Picard.
Oh,
of
interesting.
Like rip this esteemed general out of his retirement / self-isolation to do one last thing before he goes on his actual one last thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I just I don't know, I was wondering if it's going to be well, to me, I want this show to be limited. I want it to be 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
I don't want it to go on forever. I don't think they would make it go on forever. Honestly, I think it would be cool if it was just a mini series, just one season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I guess I was wondering if it's just gonna be these are all the funky little things that Obi-Wan gets into, and it's 2 episode arcs, you know, just different things,
mm-hmm.
Multiple little issues that he gets himself into over the course of one season, or if it's going to be he gets tapped for this huge mission that's I don't know significant in some way that he would agree to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that takes the course of 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think the idea of making it a miniseries might be what the original pitch was, considering that from Ewan McGregor interviews, it turns out that it was originally planned as a film and then adapted into a series. So I think 5 months ago, the plan may have been a miniseries, a 6-episode limited series about this one story, but maybe post Mando, where they see that they can do like shorter episodes that all feed in together. Maybe they take the lessons they learned from Mando into account. But I'll ask you this too, I think. Do you think, because I have an answer in my head, do you think they're going to skew more towards the prequel Rogue One Solo vibe when it comes to the storytelling and the plot and the actual like themes of it all, or do you think they're going to lean more into the Mandalorian episode 4 samurai film kind of vibe?
I don't know for sure. I would kind of hope that it was more like Rogue One-ish. I guess in the sense that I just want to see Obi-Wan Kenobi like living in this new time, right? Like, and I think Rogue One did a really good job sort of like communicating that. Like Obi-Wan's just like living on Tatooine like an exile. Like he has to keep it on the DL, and I'm sure he goes like into Mos Eisley every so often. And I think it'd be interesting to see him like interact with like that underworld side of it. You know, just, you know, I guess more like action based and not as much of the Mandalorian episode 4 kind of vibe.
It's interesting because I am definitely leaning more on the side of I want to see him just kind of like a slice of life thing almost.
Really?
You know? Okay. Like just him, similar to what you were saying about like him, maybe he goes to Mos Eisley once, he has an encounter with someone. You know, it could be really interesting if it's just focused in on being like a character piece of like maybe there's a lead that pops up about if you want to bring Ahsoka into it too, maybe there's a lead about Ahsoka and then he's like calling in meetings or something and then just like speaking with people and it kind of goes nowhere and then he's like, oh well, I should just give up, and then that's the end of it. I feel like he could do an interesting story about his character there, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't seem that's that direction.
No, it doesn't. I kind of just like, and this is just going into like what I would want to see. But I kind of want to just see him like do like one last Jedi thing, you know?
Yeah. And
like get pulled into like, I don't know, he's got to go do some Jedi stuff somewhere somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely think that is probably the avenue they choose to go with it. And I guess closing out on this, considering they're rewriting it right now, considering the things we talked about specifically last week, and sort of a question I just had of like reasoning what would get Obi-Wan to come out of hiding in self-isolation, do you think that with the positioning that Disney and Lucasfilm have been doing right now, do you think there's a chance that Rosario Dawson shows up and then it's like Ahsoka and Obi-Wan doing something maybe?
I think it's a high possibility, to be honest, because here's why. I don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi would stop looking over Luke, and I don't think he would like leave Tatooine if whatever was, you know, pressing and whatever he needed to do wasn't like mission critical in a sense. Like if it didn't jeopardize like the Jedi or like even Luke in some way. And you know, Obi-Wan's a wise guy, he's a Jedi, he's prescient enough to see these sort of things. So that's where I would see Ahsoka Tano coming in, because it would have to do something more like ethereal, you know, like a greater threat that you know jeopardizes not just like Luke but also like the fate of the galaxy. And we all know why Obi-Wan's on Tatooine anyways. It's to take care of Luke. So why would he leave? Because, you know, his actions in a way may save Luke, and if he doesn't leave, Luke may, you know, I don't know. This is just all thought here, but
no, I totally think that this is all reasonable. It sounds like not predictable, but like standard fare for revisiting a character like this, like positioning it as a one last thing.
Yeah.
Like a Logan or I don't know, Dark Knight Rises maybe. I don't know, but
I just don't know how else you could really do it. And I hate to play into like, oh, it's just kind of like you said, standard fare for a character like this, but there's not much else you can really do to make it compelling.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful still.
Me too.
Eagerly anticipating the series.
I have a question for you. Maybe you know the answer. Do we know what happens to the Mandalorian because of all this? Like, is that getting pushed back?
So Mandalorian, luckily, a couple weeks ago, wrapped shooting.
Oh, okay. So they're just finishing it then.
Yeah, so they're in post right now, and I could see maybe at most because, well, it's different than games because you're doing less intensive things, but also you're still doing CGI renders. So, or actually, I don't think you are because the way Mando does its set design.
That's true.
So maybe we still get it on time.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get it on time.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say at most, I think it might be like a 2-week or a month delay. I don't think it's anything more than that.
No, because it's promising that they've finished filming it.
Yeah.
I guess the problem is if they need to do reshoots, they're going to have to wait, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, those don't normally happen until like pretty late into the post-production process anyway.
Yeah. So, as of right now, Mando seems to be safe. So,
that's good to hear. Good news.
You know what isn't safe, Mike?
I don't know what.
My wallet.
Oh, why?
Because a couple, actually, the tail end of last week, or actually no, the beginning of last week, we actually missed this in our run of show last week. Hasbro announced a new batch of Black Series Star Wars figures.
This was just a week ago?
March 31st on the Star Wars blog.
Oh, wow. Can you run through them?
Oh, I'm run through them, man. We'll
Let's
go through
do
these
it.
real quick. So we got first off.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Before you start, we gotta yub and nub each one of them.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Okay, so first, I'm gonna be bad on some of these names because I don't know them specifically, but the clone with the wolf on his shoulder from Clone Wars.
Isn't that Wolf?
I think his name is Wolf. I think he was in. I didn't want to just call him Wolf, but yes, he's getting a Star Wars vintage collection, so like the replicas of like the Kenners, I guess.
Oh, that's cool. Those kind of seem lame to me, to be honest. I remember they had like a bunch of the Knights of Ren for Rise of Skywalker, and I never went for them.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? It's the Knights of Ren.
I mean, I read the Kylo Ren comic books, dude.
Yeah, sure. You have more of an attachment.
They still kind of suck.
All right, so yub or nub on Wolf?
I'll nub on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a big nub. We also have from the vintage collection, K2SO.
All right, nub.
Ooh, did you not like K2? I don't remember.
No, I do like K2. If I'm gonna spend money on an action figure, then I want to spend them on the Black Series because those are super well done.
Yeah, for $20, yeah.
For sure. I mean, like I just know that the vintage series, like the Kenner ones, they're like not as good quality.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. And I also think the cool like play sets that they have you seen those? Like the Kenner play sets, they have like Jabba's barge and stuff.
Yes, I think I have. I still have my Star Wars toys up in the attic somewhere from when I was a kid. Like the ones I had back in like the Revenge of the Sith days. And my cousin who grew up with Star Wars gave me some of his like original ones, so I might have one of those Kenner sets.
Yeah, I mean they definitely had them back in the day, but I think they started to like remanufacture them because I've seen them in like Target.
Yeah.
And you can like buy the action figures for them, and those are cool. But like I said, if I'm gonna spend money on an action figure, in my opinion, I think the Black Series ones are just better quality. And
Absolutely.
I would spend my money on those rather spend my money on those.
For sure. Well, lucky for you, we're done with those. Now we're in the Black Series.
All right.
So
not to be a Debbie Downer or anything. But...
No, I'm with you. I would go out on the Black Series over anything else.
Yeah.
We have a carbonized graphite Stormtrooper.
That's cool.
It looks chrome.
Chrome dome.
Yeah. I will I'll actually, when I'm editing this, I'll have pictures of each one so the audience can follow along on our Yub and Nub and see what it is. But I can send you an image of them if you would like.
Yeah, just like text me an image of them, and I can see it right on my screen here.
So this is the carbonized graphite Stormtrooper.
Yo.
Looking cool, right?
That looks pretty sweet. Oh, it's like the 40th Empire Strikes Back edition.
Yeah, we have a couple of those actually that are in this set.
Interesting, man. That looks really cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that one.
It's funny because like I have at my house, or my parents' house, like this gray. It's like a silver Darth Vader action figure.
Ooh.
And it was from the 30th year anniversary of A New Hope, I think, back when I was a kid.
Very cool.
Yeah. Just an aside.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we got an Ewok. I don't know what the Ewok's name is. I don't have a name on this one, but it's an Ewok with a spear and what looks like a Gamorrean guard headdress. Almost.
True. Yeah, not Wicket.
No. Wicket's the only one I like, if I'm being real.
He's like the only one that's named.
Yeah, and he's the one in the Lego game. He's the only one I liked.
Yeah. I mean, he looks cute.
Yeah, I'd say nub on that one.
Yeah. That's like the most fitting nub of all time. But
it absolutely is.
But do you know what the dimensions of this are? It's definitely smaller than 6 inches.
If I had to say,
or 12 inches.
Well, Black Series are mostly 6, as far as I know.
6 inches, whatever. So, yeah, you're right.
So I would say that's probably 4.
Yeah.
Just judging on like what the proportion would be next to the Stormtrooper, maybe.
Yeah.
Mike, this one I don't know which way it's gonna go for you personally. We got a carbonized Boba Fett.
Oh, this is a huge yub.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I just collect like the Black Series.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I saw this actually, and I wanted to buy it.
Yeah, it's for listeners. It is if you could imagine a glistening Boba Fett, a Boba Fett that's armor is just it's dirty in its design, but it still just glimmers.
Right.
This may be the best that Boba Fett has ever looked, personally.
He looks pretty cool in this, I have to say. And also the packaging on the box looks awesome.
Yeah, it's like a nice, like shimmery green, like an emerald almost.
I can imagine what it looks like in real life. I'm sure it's very like chrome. But yeah, no, you just sent me the photo of him alone without the box.
Mm-hmm.
Huge yub.
Yeah. Do you think you're gonna go in on that one?
I might, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
No.
No, you're a nub on this one?
I mean, I think it looks cool, but I'm not buying that thing. You know, like
okay.
A different Black Series Mandalorian has stolen my heart, so we'll get to that one.
Okay, fine.
Next up, though, good old Admiral Ackbar.
Thank God.
Getting a Black Series.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's funny with the Admiral Ackbar one because his armor chest tunic thing and his sleeves and pants, they look so clean and like so basic, but then you get the detail of like every scale and like a little pore on his body. It's very funny. Just that all the detail is in like the head and hands.
I know, because it's the only thing that's exposed.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it looks cool. I probably wouldn't buy it though.
Yeah, that's a nub for me personally.
Yeah, nub. See, like I said, I collect like these, but
Yeah.
I have limited resources, so
Yeah.
I have to choose which ones I want to buy. This one maybe not.
Well, Mike, let me send you the biggest yub of the bunch for me personally. The
Okay.
one I've been waiting for. I missed out the first round, but we are getting Beskar armor, Din Djarin, with the jetpack.
With a jetpack.
With a jetpack.
I gotta get me one of those.
Yeah, me too, man.
Wait, so this is not a carbonized edition.
I don't believe so. No, he does still have like the shimmer to him, but we get standard Black Series quality for that one.
Yeah, that one looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a yub.
Yeah, this is a big yub. This one, unfortunately, is not available for pre-order.
No.
Yeah, because, like I said before, I missed out on the original when he was just referred to as Mando. That's the first one. Missed that. Couldn't find it anywhere. But this one, I'm going there day one as soon as I can get this one.
Yeah, so who's selling? Is it just like a Target exclusive, or is it just you can gotta buy it wherever?
So StarWars.com listed at the bottom of the page that you can get them at Hasbro, Pulse, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and more. But those are the three specifically that they linked.
Okay.
And
So
again,
there are no exclusives then.
not to my knowledge, no.
I feel like they would say that if there were.
Yeah. So that was a quick little divot into these, but I have yet to purchase a Black Series figure. And I want Din to be the first one. He just looks amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I have like some pretty weird like Black Series figures. I have Jaina Solo.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because they dipped into Legends a little while ago, right?
Yeah, she has like I don't know. She's like wearing her pilot outfit. It's pretty cool. I also have Darth Revan.
Nice, very nice.
Which is pretty cool. I've recently learned that there's a light side Darth Revan Black Series action figure.
I know GameStop has that. I saw that on a sale recently.
Oh, you saw it on a sale? Is that
yes.
so? Interesting. Where?
GameStop. It might be a GameStop exclusive. I've only seen it in GameStop ads.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But okay, so was it like an online sale? I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, but
I think it was. But
all right, I'll have to check. But yeah.
Well, very cool. Black Series is one of my more appreciated Star Wars collectibles, personally.
Yeah, they're pretty cool and they're very well made
and affordable.
Yeah, surprisingly, unless you're trying to get like the original Mandalorian Carbonized edition, then you're going to be paying much out of pocket for that.
Yeah, so
high premiums.
You know who else might end up paying in the long run, Mike?
God, who? Me?
Lucasfilm.
Oh, why?
Because that was a bad transition. Nobody's really going to get mad. The people that are going to get mad, like, come on. In an interview with Screen Rant, Pablo Hidalgo, lore master at Lucasfilm, basically, yeah, he's too good to us. He basically came out and said that the idea for Rey to adopt the moniker / role of, quote, Skywalker was planned before The Force Awakens came out.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
See, I'm sure many others will be there with you. I don't know how I necessarily feel about it. I have a quote from him.
Yeah, read it.
So he said, I like the idea that she's going to be our Skywalker, but she's not a Skywalker. Then for our purposes, quote, the Skywalker is really a metaphor. It doesn't have to be something that's directly connected to blood. Which, in theory, yes, this is what I wanted beforehand. I thought you don't have to be a Skywalker to be the hero of the story. I know you were on the same page there. Like, you don't think you have to be specifically the bloodline, but, like, you have to have some sort of significance to the central plot of it all.
Yeah.
That's sort of where you fell on it all, right?
I mean, I think, yeah, in my opinion, like, it's the Skywalker Saga, right? So you gotta follow what the previous two trilogies did.
Mm-hmm. So that's where he stands on it. He said it was introduced as an idea conceptually before The Force Awakens even came out. So you can take that or leave it. I don't know if there's documents that prove that or what. I'm gonna believe him because like it thematically it makes sense, I guess, with what this story was going for and how much Rey struggled with her identity in 7, that I could see realistically of like, I'm nobody, so maybe I'm just gonna fill this role on that level, you know. But in terms of her actually saying, I'm not a Palpatine now, I am choosing the title of Skywalker, that I'm sure was modified since the conceptual idea of this was formed.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now, and I think that would be the whole like, who are you? Like, oh, I'm Rey Skywalker thing was cheesy to me only because she had an identity, right? So, like, let's just pretend that she wasn't connected by blood to Palpatine, and she was truly like a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that moment in Rise of Skywalker when she, you know, gets asked what her name is, and she, you know, goes, she's already been through all the trials and the tribulations of that trilogy, and she realizes that she's no one, but she adopts the Skywalker name. That would have been cool. Like, that would have been a really interesting way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably, I don't know if that was their first original intention, because if it was, then J.J. Abrams probably could have just like kept going with what Rian Johnson did and not retcon whatever, you know, the whole like, oh, you're nobody thing in episode 8.
I'm making eyes at the camera right now because I agree with you.
Well, it's just I feel like that moment would have more emotional weight if she really was nobody, and that whole metaphor would make much more sense if she was seriously nobody.
Absolutely. And I still, at the end of the day, I appreciate the message and what the meaning of it is and what it signifies. But like, yeah, the execution does come off a bit, not stilted or wooden, but cheesy, I think is fair. And then we also had a quote from Ray Carson, she's worked on the books of 7 or 9 specifically. I don't know if she did the other in the trilogy. But her quote regarding the matter basically said, "A Palpatine turned to the light, giving these Skywalkers an ultimate victory," which, like, my only hang up there, did she turn to the light if she was like neutral when we picked up in 7? You know, did she make a choice there?
Yeah, I don't really understand that. I don't think she really ever made a conscious decision one way or the other.
Yeah, like, cause she was kind of pulled into it unwillingly. She made a decision to accept that she had to fill the role of the Jedi, you know, at the end of 7.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's that decision, I guess, and she pushed away the temptation of the dark side and Kylo at the Force, but like, I think that would have been more of a common sense thing at that point, and then you don't even get the questioning of, like, she's so far deep into the Jedi training by the time she learned she's a Palpatine that I don't know how much of a decision was made there. Like, obviously, if you found out you were the descendant of the most evil living thing in the universe, I'm sure you would need to take a few days, you know? So I don't blame her for that. But,
right.
Like, she always seemed committed to me. That's what I'm saying.
I would agree with you. And I think that's one of the main problems that I have with this trilogy is that she never... she doesn't really struggle, you know? She doesn't struggle in the same way that, like, Luke struggled with his, like, with the pull to the dark side, and how Anakin had his pull to the dark side. Like, I don't know, like, she kind of just seemed like she was on top of it all at every moment. And the only times that she had any weakness was, like, when Kylo Ren was, like, force timing her in a way, or, like, touching Vader's mask or something like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And she would just get, like, upset, but that's about it.
I think, yeah, I know we sort of have different viewpoints of that whole aspect of her character, but I think my main thing, like, with all of this context that they're throwing at us right now is, like, I think Rey did have valid struggles. They were just different than the typical Star Wars hero, but at the end of the day, they still like framed it to be around that typical archetype, you know?
Right. Which I mean, I think that if they were to have made it more convincing, they would have framed it a different way.
Yeah, like you don't take a character who's very clearly set up to have a different internal struggle, not just like my father's Darth Vader, you know, like where he's like, I have no one, and then you have those are two incredibly different like family trauma things to deal with, but then you slot her right at the end into the position of, oh my, not my dad is Vader, not my dad is Palpatine, but like almost the same sort of thing, and then try to treat her like Luke at the end of it all. That's where the weird like mismatch comes in, I think.
Yeah, I think in hindsight's always 2020, right? But they should have just ran with what Rian Johnson did. Yeah, I understand that maybe they weren't like super thrilled with the fan reaction from that, which is obvious. It seems obvious why they chose to like connect her to Palpatine in some way, because they wanted to keep that like familial sort of relationship going, which is very central to Star Wars.
It rhymes.
Yeah, it definitely rhymes. But yeah, like they really should have just went all out with that, and it would have made more sense.
I agree. Mike, do you ever think we're gonna stop talking about the end of that movie?
Probably not. The more and more like I think about it, and I actually watched it recently, the more I dislike it. But
interesting. I am saving my rewatch for when it hits Disney Plus. But I'm looking forward to it.
When is that?
I don't know if we have a date on that yet.
I'm sure it's soon.
Yeah, I'm guessing by like mid-April we have it, because I think that's when the physical release is around. So they probably did want to save the digital release that way and then hash out the physical and Plus same day.
Right. Oh, side note, did you see the box set for the Skywalker Saga?
I didn't.
Okay, never mind.
Well, let me hear it. Is it like interesting? Is it worth picking up, do you think? Do we know things about it? I know there's the 4K aspect. I know there's like some behind the scenes stuff they're adding, but
yeah, I mean it's all 9 films. And personally, I don't think that there's much to I wouldn't buy it, but like it comes in really cool packaging. The front looks like the Death Star, and it kind of like opens up, and there's like a booklet inside, but like it's like a cardboard booklet, and every page is like a new movie with the discs and stuff. It has like a bunch of cool art. The original trilogy has like all the Ralph McQuarrie art for like the inserts or whatever. I know it's like a 4K version of the movie. I'm sure you get them all digitally as well. Don't quote me on that though. It wouldn't make sense if you didn't. Yeah. And then I know that there's like over an hour of bonus features for each film, and then just like separate bonus features just like beyond that. It seems cool. I don't know how much it is though. Probably too much.
It's probably very expensive.
Yeah, but that's something that I saw recently.
That's coming out soon, right?
I was watching people unboxing it on YouTube.
Oh, well, yeah. So I'm curious to see if there's any like featurettes that make their way online, and I'm sure if there are, we'll be covering it in the coming weeks. But interesting to see what little secrets they have on there.
We should watch the Rise of Skywalker featurette.
Yeah, I'm down. Once I can get my hands on that thing, I'm down.
Definitely.
So, but Mike, that wraps it up for news this week.
Word.
So now we shift our focus to...
Yes. The acclaimed.
You beat me to it. The acclaimed Star Wars, The Clone Wars animated series. We are capping off Season 5 this week. And I kind of want to just run through We'll run through the names of the episodes first, general impressions. Then I want to ask you a big question.
Okay. Yeah.
So first off, we have 2 arcs. First arc is focusing on Darth Maul and Savage accruing this army and taking over Mandalore from Satine.
Right.
That is season 5, episode 1, Revival, episode 14, Eminence, episode 15, Shades of Reason, episode 16, The Lawless.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second arc that closes out this season and closed out the original run of the Clone Wars.
Right.
Is dealing with a assault on the Jedi Temple, which is pinned on Ahsoka Tano.
Right.
There's season 5, episode 17, Sabotage, 18, The Jedi Who Knew Too Much, 19, To Catch a Jedi, 20, The Wrong Jedi.
What an arc to just like end the series on. But we'll get into it.
Yeah. So let's start with the Darth Maul one.
Sure.
General...
what's the big question?
So I was gonna say we can give some general impressions and then we can get this big question. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
So starting with the Darth Maul arc, I think it's funny that these are the two arcs we have this week when last week so much of our discussion was about Maul and Ahsoka.
Yep.
So this week we continue that path because we get Maul sort of leaning more into the tactician character trait that he inherited from Sidious and his training with him.
Yeah, we kind of see that come full circle too.
Yeah, it's very nice. And all of my like hesitations from last week talking about Maul and like readjusting to this slightly new take on him, by the end of the first episode this week were washed away because I was really on board. I think also from our discussion with the idea that this is all he's had for a decade. So like he's all in on this plan, this reasoning, these motivations. And kind of with you, like Savage, I don't really care about. I tried.
Yeah, I really don't.
But so I was surprised that so much of this arc is centralized on their perspective. I think the first 2 episodes here, Revival and Eminence, are like 90% from their perspective, sort of going across the galaxy and uniting all these crime families.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And I also like the increased presence that Honda Onaka has in this season.
Yeah.
He's like one of my favorite characters in this series. He's just so silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to watch like just the relationship between the two of them, especially like how it ends. I don't mean to like jump around too much, but yeah, I don't know. I also think it's cool that this entire arc kind of just has to deal with everybody's hatred of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious, but really sad.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you, since you know a bit more of the lore and sort of where this spirals to, is this ragtag group of criminals, well, they're kind of an army that Maul has created, is this the Crimson Dawn that's referenced in Solo?
I don't know. I don't think that question has been answered, to be honest. I don't know if that question has been answered yet. I would assume so. I don't see how it couldn't be, to be honest.
Yeah, like did he do this again in like 10 years? Is that
I doubt it. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Just the way that this ends, like I don't want to have to like jump back and forth, but like the way that this ends with like Palpatine you know, kind of like telling Maul that like he is still his pawn, you know. Makes me wonder if like Crimson Dawn has some serious Palpatine influence.
God, could you imagine?
I'm sure it does. Like, you know, he's behind everything, man.
Yeah. On the flip side of Maul in this arc, it is heavily reliant on Obi-Wan, like you mentioned. We see sort of the culmination of his history that was introduced in the Voyage of Temptation arc a while back.
Oh yeah.
Satine is sort of just, she gets usurped by John Favreau's character. It's a V.
Gosh, what is his name?
There's a V. It's a V, right?
something Vizsla. Pre-Vizsla.
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 She gets usurped by Pre-Vizsla in a scheme that Maul cooked up that would allow the warrior side of Mandalore to return. And honestly, seeing all that plotting, seeing it play out that way, and seeing it be that fast of a turnaround was like an abridged version of what I loved about the prequels for our rewatch on the show.
Just like all the political maneuvering and stuff?
Yeah, I loved this arc because of that.
Yeah. Also, I just looked it up. It is pre-Vizsla.
Awesome. Oh, also, Bo-Katan, right?
Yeah, Bo-Katan.
Katie Sackhoff. I didn't know that.
I don't know who that is.
Katie Sackhoff was Starbuck on the Battlestar Galactica reboot.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's awesome. It's it's so cool she's in Star Wars. I didn't know that.
That's pretty cool. That's so funny. She kind of like the character kind of does remind me of Starbuck in a way.
Totally, yeah. Because I heard her voice. I was like, wait. I sort of had a Jon Favreau moment again. And I was like, that I know that. I've listened to podcasts with you. I know that.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Mm-hmm. So have you watched all about Battlestar Galactica?
Yes.
I've only seen part of it, but that's a great show.
It's very good, yeah. Big Star Wars energy sometimes.
Oh, huge Star Wars energy.
Yeah.
It's so cool though. Mm-hmm. That's like, yeah, very cool. Anyways, yeah, dude. Can we talk about how Maul is just like he's a ruthless man.
Yeah.
He really does it to Obi-Wan. I felt that.
Yeah, man. Like, he didn't do enough by killing his master.
Right.
Now he had to kill his girlfriend.
Huge on Obi-Wan for not going like crazy.
Yeah.
He really held it all in.
So I got a question for you, as far as how I read that scene. When she said, "I love you, I always will," yeah, and he held it together, I was expecting maybe like just a slight show of emotion, not necessarily saying "I love you" back or like crying or anything, but just like some like visible pain. But I feel like he just kind of took it. Yeah, I think he did. I don't know, man. I think he may have just been, I don't want to use the word corrupted because I don't think that's the right characterization for it, but I think at this point in Obi-Wan's life, he's very much committed to the Republic and the Jedi. And yeah. I don't know. I think he knows that Satine knows that Obi-Wan cares for her deeply. And I think that he's just kind of come to terms with that. I don't think he's necessarily trying to stop those feelings, but I also think that he's not letting it get out of hand to the point where it clouds his judgment. And I think that that's very Jedi of him. Mm-hmm. But also like, metaphorically, that entire order's downfall. Yeah, and you're totally right, because like one scene later he's back to cracking some Obi-Wan jokes when he's getting rescued. But yeah. I don't know what's more sad, the fact that like he didn't react much because of everything you just said, because I did get that read out of it, like just their back and forth. I always got the vibe that like she knows he knows she knows that he cares, like. So I don't know if it's more sad that he didn't show emotion there and it's just like this is what his life is, or if it would have been more sad if he was actually like visibly upset. I think it's more sad that he didn't show any emotion, to be honest. That's where I'm leaning. And I think the show did a good job showing that. But like I said, it's not without saying that I do think Satine realizes that Obi-Wan cares for her deeply. And I don't think he really needed to say it in that moment, though it would have been nice. Like, as she's dying, no one else is gonna know. Like, just suck it up, Obi-Wan. Just do it for her. Yeah. Also, she dies in like such a gruesome way. It gives a very new meaning to the Darksaber. Mm-hmm. How so? I don't know. There's just like so much. There's now like an emotional connection to it when you see like Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian like pull it out in, like the last scene. I got you now. Yeah, it carries a lot more to me now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
Otherwise, it was just like a cool weapon.
For sure, yeah. I like the scene where Maul claimed it also.
Right.
He's like, this is mine now. And then he used it against the Emperor, or not the Emperor yet, Sidious, and then kind of just got his teeth kicked in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did notice, or I was thinking about this when I was watching it. Like, it's kind of cool to see Darth Sidious, like, before, like, his face is all messed up, like, in Emperor mode.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me.
I agree, yeah. So, I guess the close off of this arc, the finale between Savage dying, which I think I saw part of the scene before because it looked familiar. But Savage dying, I'm assuming Maul takes his lightsaber because in this past week I realized that the lightsaber that Savage had is the one that we saw in Solo, and it's like, when did he get that thing? The weird curve on it?
Is that true? I didn't even know.
Well, because remember when we watched Solo, it's like, where did he get that lightsaber? Like, it's the long one again, it's double-bladed, but it has this weird curve attachment to it. Savage has a curve on the top of his, so I'm assuming he just took it.
Yeah, he must have, right?
So,
that's kind of interesting. He takes his brother's lightsaber and forms it back into, like, this new double blade.
Yeah. Neat touch. But yeah, one of the stronger ones, I would think, this week, that arc.
Oh, one of the better, yeah. Dude, yeah, this is a good one.
Next up, we have another arc, which is even deeper on a personal level, I think, because it's about Ahsoka.
This is straight up the best arc in the entire series.
I think you're right.
So.
This arc dealing with her framed treachery, all the detective mode stuff that goes on, like, it's some of my favorite aspects of storytelling, and I watched this one today.
All of it?
Yes, the entire arc of the Ahsoka being framed today. And I drew a comparison. I think it's the same reason why I love The Winter Soldier so much, because there is that intrigue and then the hook of, like, you thought, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's like a big twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the way I kind of saw it coming. I don't know how you felt.
Wait, saw what coming, though? There's so many things that happen in this. Like,
so,
the fact that she was framed for it, like...
No. Like, I had a feeling that was coming, but the fact that who betrayed her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we find out Barriss is the one who actually blew up the temple and betrayed Ahsoka and framed her.
What a jerk.
And yeah, so again, we're watching a abridged version of Clone Wars, the highlighted most important episodes as deemed that way by our friend Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Of course, worth saying every week. So it's been a while since we saw Barriss, and I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder if they're just buddies, you know? And then I think the moment that tipped me off was when Yoda's giving the eulogy. And then
they talk to each other.
Yeah, and she's like, he taught me to use my lightsaber. And then, like, it hangs on her face for, like, a millisecond too long. And I was like, you want me to think something about her, don't you?
Yeah. Also, like, immediately following that, Anakin and Ahsoka are, like, walking the halls of the Jedi Temple, and they're about to enter an elevator, and Barriss walks by, and Anakin's like, oh, go be with your friend, Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, too much emphasis put on that.
Yeah, also then right after that, Ahsoka's like, hey, man, I hate that woman, you know, like,
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I know. So I have a question for you. I don't mean to derail it, but, like, so what of this did you know before?
So I knew that Ahsoka left the Order.
Okay, but you didn't
because
really know, like,
she
how.
Thought they weren't doing. She thought they lost sight or something like that. Like, she was like, what I signed on for is not what I'm seeing right now. So that's what I knew of.
So you knew that she left, but you didn't necessarily, like, know how.
No, I didn't know she was framed. I didn't know there was like a trial. I just knew that she left the order by choice because she wasn't about what was going on.
Okay. Yeah. So you knew the ending of it, but
yeah, like I just didn't know how we got there.
Yeah, that's basically as much as I knew too, but I knew that she was framed for the bombing.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like, I wish I didn't know that.
Yeah, because honestly, I didn't realize that this was the end of the initial run until like halfway through this arc. I was like, oh, this is probably how she leaves the order. She's gonna get framed, because she doesn't get framed until like the second episode of the arc, I think.
Yeah, the first episode's really slow.
Yeah, I liked the first episode because it was doing that like that Batman detective mode stuff, and I was into that.
That's true. It was a Anakin like Ahsoka like breaking into people's apartments and stuff.
Yeah. Also, speaking of Anakin, the final moments of this arc where specifically when Anakin goes to the lower levels of Coruscant from there on, some of like I ranked my favorite Star Wars characters after watching this arc, and Anakin skyrocketed after this week.
Interesting. So why?
Because I think I saw like a level of acting and performance from this take on Anakin in a way that really did wonders for tying together like every stage of his life, I think.
Interesting.
Because I never saw him like act this passionately because of Padme. You know, like I know he made his choice because of Padme, but I never saw action because of Padme, you know? Like I saw his acceptance to the dark side because of Padme, and then his like following of orders in turn of that. Like I never saw him go out of his way to do something that would benefit Padme like he did Ahsoka here. You know what I mean?
Kind of. What action are you necessarily like just the fact that he went to go find her?
Yeah, like physically doing that, going there as fast as he could, and the way it was all edited, the interrogation of Ventress when he finds her, like the stalking, and just like showing those seeds of the dark side, I think better than they've done in the entire series so far.
Yeah, he went pretty berserk.
Yeah, and I believed it too, because like I think the relationship with Ahsoka is what made me believe it way more and just like solidify it. Mm-hmm. Where I think some of the stuff is charming in the movies, but like it never really clicked of like Anakin killed younglings to save Padme. Like, you know what I mean? Like that direct connection isn't there as much as it is where it's like Anakin went into the underworld, interrogated Ventress, confronted this other Padawan, which is a big deal. Like being like, hey, you murdered people.
Yeah, straight up like fighting her in the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, it just felt way more direct than anything he's ever done for any of his other, well, specifically just Padme, which is the reason why you believe that transition from Anakin to Vader for me. Mm-hmm. I think it was demonstrated significantly better here and acted as like a nice capstone to everything.
You're definitely right. I think it just adds so much more, like it just adds so much more complexity to like the reasoning behind his turn to the dark side.
That too, yeah.
Like he obviously throughout the entire run of the show, from what we've watched, loves Ahsoka. It's very clear, and Ahsoka loves Anakin. Mm-hmm. Not like in a weird way, but like they care for one another, and seeing the Jedi Order essentially kind of just throw Ahsoka away like that.
Yeah.
And just accuse her and not listen to her, and not only did it affect the way that Ahsoka felt about the Jedi, but it also definitely had an impact on Anakin. And that ending scene, man, just made me like tear up.
Yeah, me too. It was intense.
So like when I think about Anakin's turn in Episode 3, like it's so much more complex now. Like he's having, you know, this whole ordeal just intensifies his disillusionment with the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is also where I was coming from, in more of like less of a moment to moment sort of thing, which is what I was just talking about. But like on the grand scheme, like you're saying, I totally agree. The one bummer about it though is that just because of logistics and because of the timeline of things, we don't even get a reference in Revenge of the Sith. And I know, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But they've added so much. You know, they've added so much to these movies since they came out. Can we get one small, have Hayden come and do an ADR, do something, like, I don't know, anything, you know?
It's gotta be like, maybe he was just like still too salty about it. Like, I don't know, thinking about, and I haven't watched Revenge of the Sith in a minute, but like, thinking about Revenge of the Sith, like, he was pretty like upset just from the get-go, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was just like pretty pissed off from like the beginning of that movie, like at the Jedi. So it makes me think maybe he's just trying to forget about it, and he doesn't bring it up, and like, because it's just so fresh. I wonder how season 7 handles it.
I think where we won't get like the direct line about Ahsoka at some point in like a new updated version of Revenge of the Sith, I think season 7 is probably going to go out of their way to like contextualize why.
It has to.
Because this sort of brings us to the question I wanted to ask you. Because we don't really have the direct, solid, firm tie, you know, between all of this canon and then Episode 3. Again, keeping in mind 7 could do stuff to remedy that and make it really solid. Do you think that Clone Wars is like some of, if not the best Star Wars at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Huge yes. And like, this is not really a secret, I obviously like the prequels. And so do you. But for me, like, it just gives so much more depth to it all. Like,
yes.
Let's just put it this way, like, watching Anakin and Obi-Wan's duel on Mustafar is never going to be the same.
Oh yeah,
because you have all that background.
Like, I remember
it feels more real.
Absolutely, because I remember when we talked about the duel on, I guess, what would have been our 3rd episode of this podcast. And
oh, how far we've come.
Yeah, like back then, I remember one of my points of criticism about it, like, it still was a cool fight and everything, but like, I remember one of the questions I asked you was, did it ever really feel like you or my brother felt like it was true? And I think with the context of the series now, it's gonna like hit for me harder than it did before.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's what I'm saying, man. It's like, it's just like Anakin's turn to the dark side is like, the reasoning why is like much less like opaque. Like, it's very clear now to me why he chose to leave the Jedi Council. Like, I understand, like, there were slivers of it kind of like hidden throughout episodes 2 and episode 3, but this really gave it enough time. The Clone Wars, I mean, gave enough time to like really enumerate the reasons why Anakin Skywalker has all this distrust for the Jedi Order.
Absolutely.
And not only the Jedi Order, but like by proxy his own master, which is like a really interesting sort of like thing that he has to deal in his own head, and it comes to a head in episode 3, and I think it carries so much more emotional weight now.
Yeah, I agree, and we still have 2 seasons to go, because like I mentioned before, this was what the producers and Filoni thought was going to be the end of the show because it got canceled. And next week we're watching season 6, which was the Netflix bringing it back to Netflix sort of thing.
It's like the lost tapes, right? Something like that.
Yeah, and with that, as far as what I know, Ahsoka's not in that at all.
I think she's not.
So
like confirmed.
Where we leave off with Ahsoka then is interesting because obviously we know she does stuff in Rebels. She shows up again for season 7, but I think we can have probably a discussion like this with more hindsight once season 7 ends, but I really do think that the legacy of Clone Wars is going to be felt for a very long time, more than other more recent Star Wars projects, I think.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's heavily underrated.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like, it makes me upset that I hadn't watched it earlier in a way.
Yeah, me too. Keep in
like,
mind again, we're skipping a lot of filler, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is there is a lot of filler.
Yeah.
And you don't need to watch every episode of this, and I'll stand by that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever will go back and watch all of it. I think I've seen what I needed to see.
Yeah. I'd probably go back to rewatch some of my favorite arcs from this because, like we've said, they're kind of movies.
They definitely are movies.
Yeah. And the favorites, I think, are really exceptional in terms of Star Wars storytelling. So, like, I think I want to pose the question now. We don't have to answer it, but I do want us to keep it in mind for the next few weeks while we finish up this series, this acclaimed series.
The acclaimed, yeah. Like, that has a new meaning to it. It is quite acclaimed in my mind.
Absolutely. So the question is, when we look at Star Wars as a whole, where do we place this? You know, like, obviously you have to look at it a little differently than the 3 trilogies, but I think at its core, it's still inherently Star Wars. It still stands as a story in Star Wars alongside the movies. So, like, how it all shakes out for you, I really want to answer that question in the next couple weeks once we all have it all wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can answer that question, like, definitively now, but I can say that it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I just keep that in mind and be prepared to answer that once we finish the last episode of season 7.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure you agree. It's up there.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love it dearly.
And I definitely keep it in mind because I want to. So are we thinking about, like, ranking it? Like
I'm not opposed.
I'm not either. We could do that. I think it fits.
Yeah, because it's all together. It's one story. I'd say it's Ahsoka's story. It's all about her. It's just one pillar in Star Wars that is just as important as the rest of it.
I think, yeah, you said it the best way.
Wonderful. Well, next week, we are watching 7 episodes, according to Jack, on our list. And these 7 episodes are all of what we need from season 6.
Yeah, which ones are they?
Season 6, episode 1, The Unknown. Episode 2, Conspiracy. Episode 3, Fugitive. Episode 4, Orders. Then season 6, episode 11, Voices. 12, Destiny. 13, Sacrifice.
Okay. I think I already watched the first arc.
Awesome.
All ahead of the game here.
So that is the homework for next week, and then we dip into season 7. Well, question for you, Mike.
Sure.
Since we've been watching 8, do you want to cap off season 6 with the first episode of season 7 for next week?
Why not?
So we can have a little taste of what to expect?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was actually, maybe this is like an off-pod conversation, but, like, Are we trying to, like, do one episode of season 7 a week? Or are we trying to just, like, catch up?
No, I'm thinking after this batch, we just watch everything that's out, and then we go to the one a week.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. So.
Sweet.
Be prepared for that. But this was a wonderful Star Wars conversation. As always, it's a highlight. Yeah.
I think we just said as always at the same time.
We absolutely did. So, Mike, if you would like to shout anything out, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, at Chris N. Buckley. I'm probably going to be posting pictures of this Millennium Falcon puzzle as I progress.
Nice. And all the pizza that you make.
Yeah, that pizza came out great, man.
Yo, that looked dope, I gotta say.
Thank you. I'm getting better.
Did you make your own dough?
Didn't make my own dough or cheese, but I made my own sauce.
I wouldn't expect you to make your own cheese.
Me either.
That's a lot.
So if you enjoy the show, if you listen to us on audio versions like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Google, whatever their option is for podcasts, I don't know the name of it. But if you can review us, if you can rate us on those services, it would be much appreciated. If you enjoyed the show, I know we're all having a lot of free time, so sharing it around to friends or family members who also love Star Wars. Maybe you want to sell them on the Clone Wars. Probably not this episode of the podcast, but our first episode about the Clone Wars was a guide, and we ran through this whole thing.
May want to start with the beginning. Jack still needs to make that public so we can share it with the masses.
He does, but I'll post screenshots of it on the Jedi Knights Twitter at Jedi Knights,
so you can follow us there.
Mm-hmm. If you're on YouTube, it's youtube.com/joyclicks where you're seeing our faces. The sun has been in my eyes for a little while, so
yeah,
you've been seeing me overexposed.
The sun had been like reflecting like off a mirror, and so there's like this big white spot that people will see. But
I look like a Force ghost right now.
The blue outline. Yeah. Christian, where'd you go?
I'm with Jack.
Yeah, I'm next. Well, I know you're with Pat and Jack.
Yes, always. But that is going to do it for this week of Jedi Knights. If you listen to the show, thank you as always. But until next week, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the Force be with you.
General Kenobi!